Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Searching for Happiness podcast. I am your host, Joseph Grable, and today I have with me singer and songwriter Sofia Lafuente. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you so much
I
for
got
having
it right.
me.
Your name
You
right.
did. That
I
was
did.
good. That was
I'm
good.
glad. I'm glad.
No,
Oh my
I
goodness.
thought that was a great pronunciation.
I'm so horrified. Even though I'm married to Brazilian, if she was to hear that and me
Yeah.
pretty much do really bad at saying your last name, she would have roasted me. She'd be like, "You're married to a Latino. Like, what do you mean you didn't say that properly?"
Well, no, it's good. I mean, you can tell you have a little training from it,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, about 4 years of training. 4 years of being yelled at for getting things wrong.
I would do the same thing. I know. I feel that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, thank you for coming all the way out here.
Oh, no. Thank you for having me.
Of course. You know, I've been wanting. We just recently met, so I've been. I usually say I've been wanting to do this for a while, but since we so recently met,
about a month.
About a month. But I was like, you're so talented and you're so just down to earth. I definitely wanted you on my show for sure.
Well, thanks.
And you know, you have a very good. I feel like you have a very good perspective on life since when I was talking to you, at least. But you know, again, thank you so much for coming out. And you know, just to fill people in, we met filming something for like NPR's Tiny Desk concert. And you know, my really good friend Salvador.
Yes,
pretty much my best friend. Yeah.
He's been doing a lot of my most recent releases, so we got connected through that. And yeah, we worked on doing like an acoustic live session. Basically,
and I love that. So when we were doing your session, I thought that was the song. Like, I didn't realize you slowed it down.
Oh yeah,
like, I had no idea. So when I heard the song release, I was like, whoa, this is way different. So I have like two versions. I was like, that's awesome.
Well, it's kind of hard because like when you're an artist, I feel like, you know, unless you're a straight up acoustic artist, like usually it is going to be two versions of it, because unless you played a track, which is like with backing track or like, you know, that obviously, well, for a Tiny Desk as well, they ask for like acoustic. So it is kind of nice. You end up getting two versions. And
that is cool.
Yeah, it's always fun.
I love both versions.
Yeah, like I come from like writing songs on my guitar, so it's always really nice to like go back. And I always, like Sal and I always say, it's like if it sounds good stripped back, then it's still a good song. Because a lot of the time, like if you overproduce things or stuff, then it's like if it sounds boring without everything added to it, then you think, okay, is the meat of the song enough? But when you strip it back and it works, then it's a good test.
Yes, I agree. And there's so many. I love when songs get stripped too, and they like release them. Yeah. Oh my goodness. And I loved making your music video too, because it was so simple but elegant at the same time. You know what I mean? It was very. It just it had this like just mellow tone to it.
Yeah.
The whole time shooting, I was just like listening to your voice. And I'm like just straight jealousy. I was just like, oh my gosh. I was like, they have that like, you got more talent in your voice than like my whole entire body. I'm just like, holy smokes. But no, like, how long have you been singing and songwriting?
I mean, singing, like I did singing lessons since I was like maybe 7. I mean, I got lucky. I got lucky because my there was not direct like music people in my family per se, but there's a lot of like respect for music and respect for the arts in general. So my mom was always like, even just mental health wise as well, she's always been hugely supportive of everybody needs to do something creative to like relax and enjoy, you know, just I don't know, she's always pushed creativity as a way to kind of.
Do you think that has to do with the culture she grew up in?
Possibly. I mean, definitely Spain has a huge music, dance. I definitely think that Spain in general and like Latin culture in general prioritizes like joy in a way that
Brazil's the same way. They because they have carnival. You know, they little things make them happy.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes. And I think, I mean, Western, not that, you know, Spain's in the West, but like it's still very much, okay, I work and then I go live my life. And your life is not always your work, which, you know, is good and bad, like for different reasons. But I think that when it comes to like singing or dancing, it's just part of life. It's just what you do. Yeah, I love it too. I mean, I miss it a lot when I'm not there. But even though like singing, I ended up taking it seriously. I think it started from just being like, creativity is important to be a happy human, basically.
Yeah.
And then, you know, we could do one extracurricular thing at school, and that's what I did. And then I kind of kept on with that. But then I took it more seriously when I was around 13. And I started writing my own music. And I spent some time at home because I had a surgery. And
that's right.
So I kind of was away from school, and I just had a lot of feelings.
Of course. It's a great way. I mean, I was doing the same at that age.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I had surgery as well at that age. You were 13 when you had surgery, right? So like, like that is I feel like our brains at that time too are at such a developmental stage. Is so many like just emotions to feel after, and then of course you're in actual physical pain. What did your surgery have to, like, why did you have to have surgery, if I may ask?
Of course. No, I had scoliosis. So my dad has it, but fun fact about scoliosis, if you get it from your father but you're a girl, you get it twice as bad, because you just change, so like your hips change in puberty, so it usually, I think it's something like, it's literally twice as bad usually. So he never had surgery, but I found out when I was, I knew that I had it, but it was, it could have posed like you could end up having breathing problems or things like that. So it was a year of trying to do everything else, like with physio and like exercise and that kind of thing. And then after a while realizing, okay, surgery is the only option. So they basically, it's a pretty intense surgery. I had it in England because my parents were in England at that time. And so you basically have, you know, 2 surgeries over the course of 2 weeks where they I'm not going to go into the details, but it's pretty gross. They just like fuse your spine together basically, which is kind of wild. So they
fuse my chest together.
So I feel that. So it's just, you know, I think and then, I mean, it all went well, but it's just a very obviously tough, like physically and also
especially
emotionally.
At the age. And
it's just a bad age in general.
I would argue, I'm gonna guess it's way worse for a female at that age too. Your guys is like, you know, like I just remember like being a teenage boy, like my biggest worry were girls and like video games. You know what I mean? Like, and then, like my heart surgeries, obviously, but like.
I have a question for you, if I may. Yeah. Did you have any like existential questions when you had that surgery, or like were you just like, I have to have this surgery?
Like a lot of them happened because I've had a total of like. Actually, I don't know the full number. Like, I'd have to ask my mom, but I know it's over like 10.
Wow.
So I've had like over 10, but 8 of those all happened before I was like 6.
Oh wow.
So like a lot of them I don't even remember.
Right.
But like every now and then I'll be like thinking through the day and I'll like remember something from when I was like 7 years old.
Wild.
Like just like a vivid, like, you know, like just a blimp of a memory, like a picture in your face.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, oh, whoa, like, you know, like, I'll remember, like, little things. Like, I remember, like, with my surgeries and stuff, like, the things I would get after, or, like, I would wake up and who was there and stuff. But I would never, like, I just always knew it was a thing I had to do. Like, when you're a kid and you're that young, you don't think of it like, oh, like, this isn't normal or anything. Because, like, to me, it's normal. It was normal to me. So it was, like.
That's interesting.
I was explaining this to Salvador last night because we just saw each other last night. I was like, my whole life, like, I don't even know, like, how my whole life would have been different if I didn't have my heart condition. Because it's like, there's so many things in my life that I couldn't do because of it, if that makes sense. And so, like, when you kind of just, like, ask that question, it's, I guess, looking on it now, like, I remember feeling scared as a kid. But I also never, like, really thought twice about it, if that makes sense. I'm just like, yeah, it's what I have to do. It's scary.
But it's part of the reality. Yeah.
But, like, they'd be telling you, be like, I'm sure you did the same thing because your surgery is pretty intense, too. They'll just tell you, like, you know, you might die.
Well, that's why. That's why I asked.
Because
I think one of the things that, like, made me really was, like, very scary is, like, I remember having literally like when I found out that I had to have the surgery, which is so irrational thinking about it now, but because they make you sign a piece of paper that's like, or you could be paralyzed, like, you know, things like that, where it's like, obviously there's the risks are not, it's obviously like low, but it's still there. And I remember, like, as a 13-year-old being like, maybe, like, because I wasn't even very spiritual at the time, but I just had this thought where I was like, maybe this is like it. Maybe then I just die in this surgery, which is so crazy. But I think it shifted my perspective in, like, what was important in life. And I think it created a distance from my peers in that moment, because I was a little like, I have to go get this surgery done and be out of school for 2 weeks. And I'm talking about, like, you know, just like real, like very adult kind of things and percentages of things, like, and medicine and that kind of thing. And, you know, my peers are like, what am I going to wear on the weekend? So it just made me a little bit like,
I 100% know how you feel. Like, I dealt with that my entire life. I'm just like, yeah, you guys get to go play hopscotch. You know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you more, I feel like.
Yeah, but like, I know exactly what you're talking about, though. Like, it's just like you're forced to just grow up in a sense, in like a way you don't want. Like, I never realized how much more mature I was than my peers until I was like working a full-time job at like 15, and I was like enjoying it, and I was like, like, you're nuts, like, you should be going to party. And I'm like, I do that after work anyway.
Yeah, well, there you go. That's balance.
Like, right. I was like, no, I tell people all the time, like, I got all that stuff out of the way like so early, and like you know, like, it's so weird because going through all those things, I've had surgeries since I'm a little boy. Like, they don't open my chest anymore, though. They go through my groin now, because they have like all that super futuristic, high tech medical stuff now, and technology. And so they actually go through my groin with like these tiny little robot things and stuff, and repair it all through there.
That's wild.
So they don't have to open it. I think the only way they'd have to open it again is if I got like severe damage,
right?
Which, like, I mean, like, severe damage for it to be opened again. So like, I think I'm good on that. But like, I've had procedures. I had one in like 2012. I had one in 2017. I had one in like 2019.
Yeah, so you're still like,
I still have to get them.
Still very
like, I still have to get them, but they're not like, now, like, the procedures are so low risk, they don't even tell me like, oh, you know, you might die. They don't even say that anymore. They're just like, yeah, like, you'll be fine, dude.
Yeah,
like, But I remember, like, as a kid, like you were saying, like, you have to sign these papers where it's like, you might die, or you might come out paralyzed. I remember when I was 12, this is like my most vivid memory I have, because this is when I was able to actually start signing stuff and like conscientious of things. And so they were like talking to me like an adult and stuff like this. And I remember they made me sign a paper that said I might lose the ability to talk, and I was like, that's like, that's crazy. But when you get put in situations like that, you gotta grow up so fast.
Yeah. And obviously, like, you have, you know, your parents that are kind of the ones that, even though, like, obviously
freaking out.
Yeah, they're freaking out, and I don't think we ever really talked about that as well, because I think it was like, obviously they probably didn't want to think of the risks, because that was terrifying. I always think back now, I'm the age my mom was when she was dealing with that shit. Really? Yeah, that's the age I am now. And I don't even have a single child, and my mom had like 2 or 3 by then. Right.
And I was like, I was like, I don't have a single one.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So it's just like, I always sit there sometimes when I'm like, just like really tired, or like I'll be just like laying down. Sometimes I'll think, I'm like, my mom literally had like this complete opposite life than I did at this age. It would be like all these traumatic things at this age.
Yeah,
and like,
that's wild.
I was like, it's so crazy to think. So like, I always look back too, and like, I wonder what the hell my parents were like. I was like, I wonder what they were up to during the whole thing. Like,
it's so true.
What were they feeling? Like, how scared were they? Like,
and you just realize like, oh, my parents were just like me with a child. Which is a terrifying thought at this point. So you're like, oh, no wonder mistakes were made, because I don't know what to do. Like, you know, but I think Yeah, they
I think that's been the biggest disappointment about adulthood is that this is adulthood.
I know. That's the terrifying reality. You're just
that was like I've always been just like sitting on the couch waiting. I'm like, when am I gonna feel like an adult? And I'm just like, you're like 25, happen. Bro. Like, you are an adult. Like,
I know.
It's so weird to think. Like, I don't know about you. I still feel like a teenager. Like, even though I have all this responsibility and like, I have my whole life and like a little family and stuff. It's just like I still feel like a teenager.
Yeah, I think it's funny because for me, I always, like, even when I was a kid, I'm the oldest, so I have like oldest sisters.
I'm legitimately the middle child.
You're the middle child.
yeah.
In all the ways.
The worst.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that there was a part of me that always felt like I was just like treated like I was the eldest because I'm also the eldest, like, granddaughter. Like, I'm on the eldest on both sides.
Oh, okay.
So,
I see.
and I didn't, like, I loved it most of the time. But
for sure.
But it's been funny because I feel like some things about growing up have been me trying to like connect with the things that I enjoyed purely for enjoyment when I was a kid, when I like didn't feel like so like I had to be responsible or I had to, like, you know, I don't know. I had this like sense of even when I was a kid, I was like, I'm responsible for things. Well, like, which I wasn't, but you know, you just like have those narratives within yourself. And I think part of like growing up and like therapy and all these things are trying to also like, no, I don't feel like an adult, but at the same time like I feel at least way more confident than I was when I was a kid. And how in like myself and who I am and like being unapologetic about that for sure.
I'm definitely more myself. I completely agree with you. I'm more confident than I ever was when I was younger, but I'm still like the same person in a sense. At the core, like a lot of qualities have changed and a lot of things about me have changed, but like deep down I'm like still like the same person, you know what I mean? And like I completely understand what you mean. I also especially since I like, and I can't really say anything, but you know, like my job I had just gotten, it was like like all day I spent just like reminiscing, you know. I'm like, that's crazy that like 10 years ago blah blah blah. And like, I think it's important that we do that too, though, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
That's what keeps us at our core to maintain ourselves, you know.
I mean, I think that like their whole relationship, I don't know how much you talk about or have talked about like the whole like inner child work and that kind of stuff, but I'm like obsessed with
I've been doing a lot of inner
it's very interesting to see like what you're saying, you know, with the successes, like connected back to how you would have been proud of yourself or like and that kind of thing. And I think it's useful to have almost like this not made up because it's actually within you, but have that relationship with like you as a kid and the things that you're going through now and understanding why you know the good and the bad certain triggers might be coming from like baby you, basically. So
pretty much it's important to remember where you come from.
It
is, and it's like you also can't forget about the people that made you who you were, you know what I mean? Like I always try to my best to keep a lot of people updated to like the people that made me who I was, obviously, but you know, it's especially in Los Angeles. Oh my gosh, especially in Los Angeles, it's so easy to lose yourself. Into like there's people that like pretty sure genuinely sell their souls out here, like in some form or some way. And it's just like I would never do that, but I see why people do that because it's just there's like this weight put on you the minute you step foot in Los Angeles. It's like you gotta prove you're gonna be somebody in a town of like 4 million people trying to do the same exact thing.
It's a pretty weird experience to go somewhere where everybody is trying to be like, I don't want to say famous, but like they believe
they're trying to be important.
And they believe, which I am too, like I own up to it, but it's like there are different versions and like characters of the type of person.
I always
that
tell people there's different classes of rising. You know what I mean? Like you have the people that were poor, that worked all the way to where they were and got there. You have the people that had every little thing handed to them, and they're cocky and you know this and that, but they still get all the work they want. You got the people that were still poor but had money coming up towards the end, but they understand the value. So that's like more of a rare little class of on the rise. And So, you know, like there's just, I could go on for like several probably other different types of people that like
there's everything here. You'll find everything out here.
There's just so many different types of people out here.
Yeah,
it's cool, but it's so upsetting at the same time.
Well, and what I've realized more when I came out here is like how like rare it is to have like things that, I mean, there's a lot of people out here that I feel don't have people or things that ground them. So like I feel super grateful to have, you know, like, of course, like relationship with your parents can always be complicated, but like at the bottom line, like I feel like my parents, I can be myself, and or even like I'll call my grandma, and like my grandma in Spain doesn't really even understand what LA now is, and like, you know, we're just catching up or whatever, but she doesn't give, can I swear on this podcast? She doesn't give a shit about like, you know, what party I went to or whatever. Like it's like I'm always just gonna be me in that scenario, and it's not that I'm anybody at this point, but it feels like you have to put on these airs when you go to things here, and it feels like there are people that are like really, really trying to reach a goal with a real belief that when they reach that goal, like that will be ultimate happiness. And oh, sorry,
I didn't mean to cut you off. I was just saying, even if you're not trying to put on a character, you have to put on a character. Even if you don't want to, like you have to, like it's because like you're still gonna run into those people that
is like protect yourself.
It's 100%. I never understood that probably till like last year, and like, and I used to view it as like fake, but I think there's a difference too. There's a difference between being professional in that sense and just being completely fake.
Yeah. And I think
that's a hard balance that a lot of people can't find.
It is a hard balance. And I think, I mean, I'm lucky because in the music space, at least when I'm writing, part of the job is to try and be as authentic as you can be in that space. And like, I just don't really know another way to approach that. For me, I don't think I could write music from a place that feels performative. Like I would really struggle. So thankfully, at least when I got here, or I first started coming here to trips out here, I was able to at least connect with a person in a session when I'm writing a song, because we're, you know, if you're in a good session, you both are bringing yourself in a very like authentic way. I find events really tricky. I find like networking, I find events, I find shows much harder, because I mean, if it's my show, it's different, but if it's like a showcase where you're playing kind of with other artists, there's this like competitive vibe, and I find that a lot more difficult. And that is when I'm like, okay, I'll be mysterious girl, because I can't win the extroverted girl game, because here it's like another level that I am not.
It's just I know completely what you mean. There's people that are out here that, I'm not saying that we don't do what we do all day every day. And of course we love what we do, but there are truly people out here that dedicate like every moment, every second of their life to this stuff. And that's a level you just can't, you know,
you go crazy.
People go crazy out here with some stuff, and it's because, and majority of it's just people that have a lot of money that don't know what to do with it. And that's just cool. Well, I mean, I would love to have that type of money to do that. You know what I mean?
But they don't seem very happy most of the time. That's what I was about to say. Is none of them seem that happy though. You know what I mean? And so it's like, I don't know. Like, I feel like we're in a good situation because like, you obviously, you don't come from LA, obviously, right? No. I mean, I'm definitely of a privileged background for sure.
Likewise, same.
But no, I don't come from LA. So I definitely, and I will say, like, the formative like high school years I was in the UK, and the UK is definitely way more it is not cool to be throwing your money around. It's exactly. Like, I mean, there's people for everything out there, but in general, you're kind of like, it's not cool if you do that. And my Spanish family that I'm like that's probably like the roots and the core of who I am, is not wealthy, and is not, and it doesn't even have to, like, it's not like if you're wealthy it can't be good, but I think joy does not come from money. Like, joy comes from like food and like, you know, sunshine and beer and like
just experiences in life. I tell that all the time. Like, I don't come from a wealthy family whatsoever. I was never like growing up, I never had money. But, like, somewhere in my teen years, my great-grandpa got really, 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 really wealthy.
Oh, really?
Because he sold his business.
That's
so he got
wild.
Super
That's so
wealthy.
cool. Yeah.
So, like, my family, I guess, has money now.
Right.
And some of us benefit off of it. But, you know.
There's a transition.
There's a transition in there. So, like, my family went from, like, you know, living paycheck to paycheck, like, in really, like, 1-bedroom apartments with kids and stuff like that. So, like, now, like, if we're really struggling, it's not a big deal. You know what I mean? Like, there's been a few times he saved my butt. You know what I mean? So, you know, like, I understand both spectrums to it. And, like, that's why I'm, like, really grateful that, like, I'm in LA now, too. And, like, I'm getting connected with, like, you and, like, Salvador's connected me a bunch of artists that have been great people.
Yeah, he's just a great person. He's a great dude.
I love Salvador.
And I have found, like, in LA, you just have to scope the good people because they'll just introduce you to good people because people want to hang out with, you know.
Yeah. And I used to, like, the last, like, few years, like, I'd only been meeting, like, honestly, not the best of people. Like, people that are, like, super flaky. People that are just super, like, all about them. And, like, I would say, like, the last year, especially since me and Salvador started working together, I've met a lot of people that aren't as much like that anymore. And so Sal's a really good guy, and he attracts people that way too, you know what I mean? He attracts that type of person, which is great, you know. And I don't know, he's got a little something about him. He's got a little pizzazz about him.
Yeah. Well, I think it's really special to find, and not like just him, but when you find those people that are like driven, hardworking, you know, they have the self-belief to do this type of job, but at the same time happen to also like have morals and be a good person. You're like, wow, you're like a unicorn. Like, fuck yeah.
Hell yeah.
And
he's like a Renaissance man.
Definitely. And you do find these people. Like, I think that you know, I can think of a few people here that have been really, really helpful to my career so far. And it's like,
do you think that's harder as a female to find people like that though? Like in a it's a weird question, I guess you could say, but is it harder to find people that genuinely want to help you, or you think like half of them kind of just want to get to know you? Because I know a lot of females in this business, and they told me they run into that issue quite a bit, and I've been very curious to get a female in the music industry on here to talk about that, if you've dealt with it.
Of course. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good question. I think that I first of all come off as shy, I think, when people first meet me in the studio. So I don't know. I haven't ran into so much. I'm just lucky. Most of my friends have had some uncomfortable situation with a producer or something. I'm very serious. So I kind of, you know, immediately make it very clear that, I don't know. I mean, I don't think that's not to say that I believe that my friends have been in situations aren't like that. Like, I just think that I might have just been lucky, frankly. I think that I've definitely been in situations where I feel like disrespected, but I've actually felt it more in the business side of things than in the studio. But I also,
like,
you know,
contract wise,
meetings
meetings
with people.
I've been on a lot of meetings where a lot of people get I don't know why it's such a common.
I think, like, not that they're hitting on me necessarily, but and I've had, I mean, now that I'm like really digging, like I've had scenarios where things kind of turned romantic, or they tried to turn it romantic, but I was always, I think I was just lucky that it never kind of crossed a line where it's like really affected me. I think subconsciously over the years, like, it affects you, but it's been more kind of passive in my case. But in the business sense, like that, I think that I've really struggled with being taken seriously in a like when I want things to be in like in a position of power, I think.
Yeah.
That's what I kind of noticed the most. It's not, and sadly, like, I don't even know if these people sometimes realize that that's what, like,
I'm always curious about that too. Like,
yeah,
I don't know if people are just like arrogant, or
maybe they
people
do.
just
Maybe
genuinely aren't aware that they do that. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I think if I can give examples, it's more just like whenever I think as a female, you need to be really likable. And I think if you're at a position where, okay, you just had a viral video, or your streams are really high, or you're just like, you know, you have proven some sort of like number success, then maybe, I mean, I think they'll still want you to be likable, and it will still be difficult if you have demands. But when you're starting out, if you're not likable, it's like, no one's gonna help you.
Yeah, 100%.
No, and I do think that, like, just, you know, when it comes to meetings or emails that you see, like, your male peers, the way that they write an email versus like I'll write an email, and the kind of like, I had a stage in my career where I was beginning just to kind of advocate a bit more for like what I wanted and my expectations for certain things, and the feedback was like, oh, you're being moody. Oh, like, you're, you know, being dramatic. And it was mainly, it just felt like, okay, would this be said to a guy?
Yeah, it sounds like your like feelings just aren't being like respected, and like your creative input isn't being respected as well. You know what I mean? And it's like, I'm guessing the majority of it's from men.
Yes,
which makes total sense.
I mean, I think from women, we can tend to be pushed towards being competitive towards each other. Like, I've definitely felt that.
I've been in rooms with women.
Yeah, that can be really ugly.
And it gets ugly. It can get ugly. Like, the minute some women start disagreeing, it's a cat fight.
Oh, yeah.
Verbal throwdown.
Yeah.
And it's wild. And like in meetings, like people like mad disrespect you in meetings.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is when you see them in person, they don't say nothing.
No, yeah.
That's my thing, is like, if someone's always disrespecting me in like a meeting, or like, or in any way like where I saw them do it, or somebody I know very well did it, I always give them the chance to say it in person. I'm like, do you want to reiterate?
Most of the time they don't, if you pick up the phone, or you go or whatever. Yeah, I mean, I think that with the I just remembered that another thing is like the age question is massive, like the ageism against women. Yeah, that's something that I've felt like very deeply, where it's like,
I feel like, and this sounds like a really horrible thing, I think, to say, but like, as a man, I just don't see a lot of men like giving a shit unless you're old.
No, and that's a beautiful thing. I don't think you should
like,
give a shit.
Yeah.
It's not
so
like,
it kind of shocks me
want
that
to
people
give a
ask
shit.
you. Yeah.
It's just something where I have had label meetings where at the end of a positive conversation, it's asked, and you're like, why is that relevant? And I really felt when I turned like 20, when I was like 22, 23, like, you start to reach your mid-20s. I'm in my mid-20s now, but but when you start to get there, like, it became a question in a label meeting, which is kind of like it would be like, oh, okay, so and as soon as, you know, I would say, oh, I'm 22 or 23 or whatever, it was like, okay, yeah, that's fine though. Like, so obviously you would begin to internalize that.
Though?
And you just start, you know, and amongst women, I've noticed that people start to talk, and I have nothing against like plastic surgery or Botox or anything, but I just wish, I noticed that there's a lot of energy spent on, we need to look as young as possible, and if we are mid-20s, we need to trick people into thinking we're early 20s.
Yeah, and you know,
which is not a conversation I think you guys are having.
Yeah, no, not at all. No, like
I've never thought about that in my
men like, we don't even like it when you guys wear makeup. You know what I mean? Like, we definitely don't give a shit about plastic surgery. You know
yeah.
So it's just like, I tell people all the time, like, LA's ass backwards. Like, it's the 360 of what life should be, and it's like, nobody else on this planet except people in LA would care about plastic surgery. You know what I mean? Or ask you to get it for a job. Like, that's absurd.
And it's not, and that's the thing. It's like, nobody has said like, oh, Sophia, you need to get Botox. But it's that thing of like, oh, don't worry. And I'm like, I wasn't worried, but now I'm worried. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
If you say, you know, I'm mid-20s or whatever, and it is a comment where, you know, it does kind of get in your head. And I'll be honest, like, I hate that this industry has made me hyper aware of like, but do I look 23? Do I look 22? Do I look
man,
that?
and they make me think like that.
Yeah.
You know
I mean, it is just the reality of it. So part of it is just, you know, this is, our faces are relevant to whatever we're selling in entertainment.
Exactly.
But I think that, yeah, I wish that it wasn't something that was even brought up, really.
Yeah, it's something that shouldn't matter.
Well, in music, it's like, if, you know, thankfully you see a lot of artists, like, you know, coming up and they're kind of getting their breaks in their 30s even, and that kind of thing, and it does exist. I think that I'm gonna get like, this is where I'm like, get down the
go
on my soapbox, but
go.
No, I mean, I think the reality is that if you're a woman and you want to have kids, you do feel like your 20s are like your time to get your shit done, right? Because you're like, okay, biologically, I need to start thinking about kids in your 30s. And I think that unfortunately, like the business side of things, and if you are an artist that wants to tour, that wants to travel, that wants to do all these things, like, I think practically that's why the 20s are still like the peak years for a female in the industry. But that is something that needs changing, right? And that's,
I feel like it is changing.
I think
too,
it is
though,
changing
because it's like,
it's just taking
a majority of like the famous, I mean, actors aren't the best example, but majority of actors that are really famous getting these lucrative deals are all in their 40s, 50s,
I think
and 60s.
acting is actually older than musicians.
Like, I've been hearing this stuff for years, being like, oh, once an actor reaches 40, their audition rate goes way down. I'm like,
yeah.
I'm like all I see are 40-year-olds and 50-year-olds playing characters now.
Yeah.
Like, people that are supposed to be like 20, they're playing them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
it's kind of switched. Like,
yeah.
It used to be like, I remember 13 Reasons Why. All those kids were like in their 20s.
That's true. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And now it's like the reverse. It's like the 20-year-olds getting played by like the 30-year-old or 40-year-old, which is fine, which is great, because then it makes a little bit more sense. Like,
yeah.
Nobody wants to see a roided out dude in a high
No.
school. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh my
6'5" jacked up dude. Like, no, like,
Yeah.
okay, Monty.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Like, it's like, that dude's definitely in his 30s.
Oh my
for
God,
sure,
I know.
you
That's like, you know, Grease, the movie Grease.
Yes.
I remember when I watched that when I was an adult, and I was like, these guys all have like, they're all in their 40s. Like, they're not teenagers, but
No.
yeah, I mean,
It was like even Dazed and Confused.
yeah,
too.
yeah. That's
like
so
some
true.
of them, like I remember, like the younger kids in Dazed and Confused. Those kids were in their 20s playing teenagers, and then like Ben Affleck and all the older guys, they were like in their like late 20s, early 30s. You know what I mean? And so it's like,
so
it's crazy.
maybe music needs to catch up a little bit.
But music's starting to be that way too. Like, no diss on them, but like Wiz Khalifa's getting old, Lil Wayne's old, Nicki Minaj is old.
Yeah.
And they're all becoming ginormous like business people, entrepreneurs in their own sense too.
Yeah. No, I think that I mean, within the music industry, what you start to realize is that, and we're at a very interesting moment in music, because the traditional like label framework is kind of,
well, it's the
like,
same thing with film.
changing.
It's like,
I'm
it's like
sure.
no one gives a shit to be bought out by a studio anymore.
Exactly.
It's the same thing with a record deal. No one wants a record deal anymore because they suck.
So as you used to have this thing where it's like, okay, you're signed at 18, you're signed in your teen years, you're developed for a few years, you're like peaking in your early 20s, and then and I don't know, it's like you would see all these artists, like, do you remember, you know, JoJo, like, Get Out, Leave, Get Out, right?
Yeah. I actually know the producer Urbo, and he's having hella issues with her.
Well, so but if you think about it, like, when our generation, we're like slightly younger than her, but you realize like, wow, these artists were working at like 18, 19, 20, because she is just now 30, I want to say. And it feels like she should be like 40 something.
Like Selena Gomez. I feel like Selena Gomez should be 40, but she's
but
she's 30. She's literally just 30.
So it's like, okay, we just need to push it a little bit. And I mean, there's a lot of artists like Mitski and Caroline Polachek, and like even Lana. Lana popped off later, like when she was in her like late 20s.
Are you talking about Del Rey?
Lana Del Rey,
okay,
yeah.
Cool, yeah.
So there are women and they are doing it, but it's the like for me to get funding, I think people are a little bit more willing to take a chance on an artist that's young and impressionable, and they can kind of do whatever they want with them. Than
so what you're saying, they
want
an artist that's manipulatable?
A little bit.
Pretty much.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's changing because the artist has a lot more power nowadays. But I think that, you know, there was a clear thing, like not that I even wanted to sign a major like label deal at that stage in my career, but there was a point where like I was having those conversations, and it was when I was like 18, 19, 20. After, it was like, good luck, like we'll see you when you've blown up, basically. And I don't think it's a coincidence. I think it's because they think they have time with you before, and maybe you're a little I don't even think that they're like, oh, let's like take this artist and like make them what we want, but subconsciously they're like, she's younger, maybe we could turn it into this or that.
I'm intrigued how the film industry works in that sense, and like I guess I'm about to find out, but like that's what I'm most interested about my job is it gonna feel like a dead end like that, or is it like it's super cool and it's for a fantastic company, but it's actually gonna help me progress in that way, you know what I mean?
You'll
and so
find
it's
out.
like we'll find out, but I know exactly what you mean, and like it's so scary to like going back to JoJo. It's so scary to like think like she committed all of her like life and like kind of nobody remembers.
Oh, I love JoJo.
Well, like she's good. She's good.
I mean, she had a lot of legal stuff, and she got stuck in a bad deal.
That's what I'm saying.
And,
she just got stuck. Like she got stuck in those deals, and like I'm trying to get Urbo on this because he's like Kanye's old producer and stuff like that. I shot like 4 classes of his.
Oh, really? Oh,
him.
Yeah. You told me about that.
And so I've been trying to get him on, and he's supposed to come in May. But like he was just explaining that like there's just so much legal trouble around JoJo, and like it's kind of plagues her now in a sense, you know. Yeah. Which sucks. I can't even imagine how annoying that is. But
yeah, I mean that's it. I mean, at least it's out in the open now, because I think that used to happen a lot to artists, and it would just be like, oh, where have they gone? And it was like, you know, maybe they're fighting a 10-year legal battle because they can't get out of something.
I think that's kind of what happened with the Party Rock Anthem guys.
Oh, really?
I think that's what happened. They hit a bunch of legal stuff, but I think it had to do with within the duo though.
Right.
I think it was one of the guys in the duo like fucked the other one over really, really bad.
Yeah.
And like the reason they don't ever make music anymore is because it had so many bad legal issues. And I mean, they hit like Sexy and I Know It, Party Rock Anthem. There's like 2 more I think they did. They were popping off, and like the next year they just dropped off the face of the planet. Yeah, I know.
I mean, it's definitely crazy the amount. I mean, I was having a conversation about it today about like just how, I mean, not only luck, but it's like this combination of such hard work and planning that goes behind everything, and it's like running a business in the sense that you need to try as much as you can to set it up in a way that you are imagining that you could potentially make a lot of money, because that's when the legal stuff gets in the way, where it's like, okay, I don't want to pay for a lawyer for this contract because I don't have $1,000 to pay for a lawyer. That's the cheapest lawyer, by the way. Like
an hour.
I don't have that. Yeah, an hour. An hour. And found that out like the bad way. But
no, I found that out too. I was like, oh my. I did it. I found out.
Can you cap it at 30 minutes, please? Right? But yeah, I mean, like you need to. It is still worth it. Obviously there's ways to do it, but you need to like set yourself up in a way that you are trying to anticipate all these future problems that could potentially happen if you do blow up, because if you do blow up, you don't want to be stuck in some terrible situation.
Yeah, I always tell my friends too, if you do independent work, to just like go on the internet and find just basic contract templates. You know what I mean? Like that's literally like the invoice I send you. I do those for everybody. I literally went on Canva
Yeah, me too.
That's all I do. Like
first,
people just don't realize how absolutely easy it is.
Yeah.
To go and like just protect yourself legally.
Massively.
Or it's like I've been thinking about it. I don't think I'm gonna do it yet, but like once I get bigger guests and like people that actually like have like 100,000 plus followers and stuff like this, is like I'm gonna start making them sign papers being like, you give me legal permission to use everything. Like, because like I already ran into that with a Nova, like somebody that has like nothing, you know what I mean? And so like I always tell my friends, I'm like, protect yourself. I run into so many just issues, like my thesis, for instance. I had a lot of students on that because it was a student thesis film, obviously. Yeah. And I didn't make anybody sign anything other than what the school made them sign. And I wish I did, because on the last day, half the people showed up.
Really?
Yeah. And so like totally screwed me over.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And like half of them canceled on me. Like they told me they weren't coming. So I was already anticipating. But then some people just didn't show up. And I was like,
okay.
Yeah. So ever since then, I'm just like, protect yourself in every way possible. Seriously, in every way possible. It's so nuts to me that it just, some people just don't have like a bone in their body. Well, and they'll just full blown take advantage of the situation.
Oh yeah, and this business, like, it is not for the faint of heart. It's like, if somebody can take from you, like, they will most of the time, to be honest. And it's better to just have that attitude and, you know, trust and develop relationships with the people that you work with over the years, and obviously, but still have your contracts. And it also, like, you know, it is you're dealing with art, which is great, and emotions and all these wonderful things. But when it comes to like releases, back end stuff, like, you need to have that, you know, you need to develop your business brain, and you just can't be lazy about it, because it's going to come back and bite you in the ass most of the time.
It really does. So, it really does. Oh my gosh. In some form or some way, it really does. Yeah. Yeah. I can't even, I could go on forever about just all those things that go on in the film industry that are just make my spine jump out of my back. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. Oh, but you know, so if I remember right, you are currently, you know, you're a singer-songwriter, obviously. Do you have anything coming out soon?
I do. Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of
spill the tea.
Well, when is this going to be out, first of all?
Oh, this isn't going to be out probably until like the end of May.
Oh, perfect. Okay. Yeah. So on the 28th of May, no, 26th of May, whatever the last Friday of May is, my EP is coming out. So it might have come out already, or it might be just about to come out. But it's still unnamed for now, but it will have a name.
You can self-entitle it.
Yeah, I know. I definitely have workshopped a couple of names. I'm just trying to figure out, because it's a largely bilingual project, this one. So I've got like 3 songs in Spanish. No. Yeah, 3 songs in Spanish and 2 songs that are like half English, mostly English, but with some Spanish in it. So I'm very excited to like, I've been kind of dropping it every 6 weeks, trying to stay consistent. That's like my main thing right now as an independent artist, is just trying to put something out like every month and a half, basically. And then continue, and we might have some cool little features coming up in the summer. That's and that awesome. Kind of thing. So yes, check it out. If I don't have the name right now, but if you search my name, you can find it. And it will be out on Spotify and all the DSPs and everywhere you can buy music. Yeah,
I'm excited for it. I'm kind of like I was saying earlier in the beginning of the episode, we did that thing for the Tiny Desk NPR. And that was a contest, right? It's like kind of like a little contest.
So thing. I will have found out by the time this comes out.
By the time this comes out, well, you'll see it on her page. You'll see it on my page.
You can find it. Yeah, it'll still be live, like whatever happens. I think you can also check out, like, on the Tiny Desk website, they have them all.
Oh, wow. Okay.
All the entries as well. So, you know, all the other talented people, you can check it out as well. Yeah, but we'll have, you know, some shows hopefully as well coming up in LA, and I mean, the one show that I have is in April, so won't be talking about it yet.
Heck yeah.
It would have happened. It was great.
It was great.
Yeah, it was
I'm
so
sure
good.
it will be great. I'm gonna try and make it to it. I'm sure it'll be great.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. It's good to play live now.
Did you write most of the songs on this album?
Yeah, I write
incredible.
everything.
That's incredible. So you got 12 on there, right?
Yeah, I've got I have 5 on this one, but it's kind of
EP is an EP.
Yeah.
That's right, EP. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely.
EP's like 8 under, right?
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So this one is just 5 songs, and then we'll there'll be more coming out because
Where did I get the number 12? I'm trying to think.
I don't know.
I don't know.
But I mean, I definitely.
I mean, I do.
I've told you that I'm putting out so much. I mean, I definitely have a lot of music that I've been doing, and I have a longer term plan that I'm trying to complete. So maybe that was it.
I don't think I was supposed to.
Oh, I don't mind. It's fine. It's what we're working towards always, right? But
True.
But no, I think I've just like ended up cutting. I was, it's all about like what's the best way to put out music now as an indie artist and all that. So I think just trying to do as many singles and then squishing them together as a project.
I've noticed that like that's the way to pop off these days. Like a really popular one I think got really famous. He still hasn't done a single album. Is Arizona's Nervous.
Oh yeah.
He still hasn't done a single album.
Yeah, I mean I think it's unfortunately it's very easy to put out music in the sense of like uploading it and pressing play, but it's so competitive. It's something crazy. Like every day, like 50,000 songs are uploaded. To Spotify.
Oh no, I heard it was like.
I think it's more now.
I think it was like 50 or 500,000. I thought
it could be.
I heard it was 500,000 songs a day.
It's insane. So.
But then you also like those songs could be like 30-second little do 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 do
yes.
do's, or it could be like an 8-minute
literally
long song
anything.
where people just going
with
a violin. You know what I mean? So
there's like that counts all sounds and everything, but it's so still a lot of music. So I think people and also when it comes to the playlisting stuff, like if you're pitching to a playlist, if you put a project out, like you can't pitch 6 songs at the same time. You can only pitch 1. So I think that's why the single has become like the standard, because then you can actually, you feel like your song has a chance to be like found and, supported.
Isn't that hard trying to pick which
horrific.
song to...
It's a horrible reality.
So I don't even know if Salvador told you, I'm trying to like dip my finger into music a little bit too. Like I'm even gonna take like voice lessons and stuff.
Oh, sick. That's so
so
cool.
like I've been thinking about it, and I've just been curious about like that and like what motivates you, like what do you like writing the most about, like when you write songs, and then with that being said, does it kind of come easy? Like, do you kind of can do it in one sitting, or do you have to periodically do it throughout like the week or day?
I mean, I'm definitely a pure combination of my parents being like very creative and very kind of type A. So I'm a little bit strange as an artist. It does exist, it's out there, but I like to try and get Sal, that's why I work so well with Sal, because he's he's similar in that way. Like we like to get as much as we can done of a song in one sitting. But that's just how I work, because I feel like a song has momentum and I get a little lost in like, what are we doing if I leave it? I've definitely done that. Like I have maybe ideas that I'll kind of leave in a diary or like in a voice note, but most of the time I kind of like to see what I'm feeling that day, what I have written down that day. Even though I'm dropping things as singles, I'm usually writing about, I'll try and write based on how it is very therapeutic a lot of the time. I mean, even if it's not, it's usually like somewhat autobiographical, and if it's not, it's still related to like the things that I'm trying to sort out, even if it's like inspiration from a friend's story or a family member or whatever. It's still part of my life. But usually I try and like let myself just write for like, let's say I'm writing for a project in mind. I'll just write for like a month without really thinking too much. And then I'll start to see like, oh, it looks like I'm kind of focusing on this. Like, what are we missing? Is there a different angle? Is there a different approach that we could take to this? I love romance. I read a lot about like love and all that, but you
have an elegant voice, so it works.
Thank you. I mean, I definitely have I really love like darker topics. I don't think that it's necessarily depressing. I like to think that usually it has like a hopeful twist to it at the end. But I do love like drama. So I'll write a lot about like, you know, self-analysis or too. That kind of stuff. I just find it more fun. Like I'll write a happy song, but it's not that fun.
Like my screenplays are all dramas.
Yeah. Like if I'm happy, I'm just like, and people actually say like when they meet me, they're like, wow, you're a really joyful person, which is not like my songs are like kind of sad, but I just enjoy being happy.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
Then I don't have to write about it.
People be like, I'm the same way. I know what you mean. Like, people are like, why do you have a mental health podcast? And I'd be like, because I've been depressed. Well,
exactly, because
like
I've worked so hard.
Yeah, because I worked so hard. And, like, I've been depressed since I was, like, 8, man. Like,
yeah.
And they're like, what? Like, they're like the last, I think, do you know who Jess Lee is?
No, I don't actually.
You should ask Sal to meet her. She's a fantastic connection. She's great to have.
That's awesome.
I met her through Sal also. And I remember I had to give her a ride home from I didn't have to, but I gave her a ride home from a party one time, and we were talking, and we were just like talking about both of our lives, and she looked at me, she's like, I would have never guessed you're that type of person, like in any way. And I think that's what's most important, is like it's always the people you would least expect it from.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have a very intense like inner dialogue, which, you know, I don't present to the world all the time. Yeah, so I think, I don't know. And I think that it's mainly that I just feel things really intensely. So if I'm feeling something really intensely, then I'll like try and like analyze to make myself feel better or understand it, or like get to the root of the issue.
Have you ever tried writing a song while experiencing different emotions?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think that's what motivated me to write.
Okay,
initially,
cool. I do that with reading screenplays.
Oh, interesting.
So like I had learned it from a book, and maybe it'll help you with writing music. I don't know, but I read it. You know who Matthew McConaughey is, right? All right. He has a book called Green Lights, and it's like his autobiography. But he put something in there as an actor. He says, I think he said what he thinks makes him most successful is he reads all of his scripts in every mood he has.
That's really interesting. So
he, when he's angry, he'll read the script. When he's upset, he'll read the script. When he's super happy and joyful, he'll read the script. When he's teary-eyed and like depressed, he'll read the script. Like, and he explained, he's like, so I understand every facet and every angle of that character and every emotion and how that character would react in that moment, and like, what am I feeling in that moment? And I feel like, as someone who's just now starting to write music, I'm trying to like incorporate that with it.
Yeah.
What do you think would be easiest is, well, I want to say what would be easiest is, do you kind of base your songwriting off of more life experiences and the things you have gone through, or the life experiences that you're currently living through? Which ones do you think you write more about?
I mean, I think that it honestly varies. I think if I'm going through a hard time, then it's a way to like make that more bearable for me, and it's like a very soothing experience to get something beautiful out of feeling bad. But I think there's been times where you go through something bad and then you're like, oh, now that I have distance from it, I feel like I have a new perspective on it. I mean, I think that my favorite sessions are the ones where it's almost like your brain has been like mulling over something without you realizing it, and so you go in not necessarily with a plan, and the song, like, I don't know if you've ever heard this, but people will say like, oh, the song just wrote itself, and that's where like I can get, like, that's where I feel like we get a little like woo-woo or like spiritual about it, because it does feel like there's a level within you that just like music can just, at least for me, unlock something that I didn't maybe necessarily know I was feeling, and then when you get it out, you're like, whew, like, that's so nice, but you weren't conscious of it necessarily, so it feels like, you know, it just feels like you're connected to something greater, and I'm not even like particularly religious in any way, but I think that anybody that's been in a session when that is happening, it's a really it's a really cool experience, which like the thing that I love about music is that it can be very narcissistic, but it's because it's my story. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, the whole point is like create something that people can connect with. So it's this weird, like, yes, it is very personal, but at the same time, if I create it and it's made you feel something, it makes we both get something out of it, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Like, that person, we both just equally feel less alone.
I think the more personal, the better, to be honest. Yeah. I feel like that's what really makes people kind of pop off. Like, yeah. Like, at least up and coming people, like, if you kind of just notice, like, at least in movies, I've noticed a lot of the Oscar winners, a lot of the Grammy winners, all their music, all their movies, if you really listen to the lyrics and you know who they are and like you've done research on them, it's like you can see that piece of them in that music. You know, you know what I mean? And so I think the more authentic it is, the easier it comes to you too. Absolutely. And the easier it'll come to other individuals as well. Yeah. You know, and I try to do that with all my writing, because I'm like I'm in the same boat. I want people to feel emotions when they watch my stuff. I don't care if they're crying or they're screaming at it. I don't like I don't care if they're like, oh fuck you. Yeah. Like this TV show so stupid, it makes me so mad, you know. Yeah. Like, same thing with this. I'm sure you feel the same thing with music, you know. Yeah. I think that's our jobs as creators, though. Is I think that's what we want, is for people to feel.
My whole thing, like, as an artist, is, you know, we're all, we just have to be so tough a lot of the time, like, just in life as adults and as just navigating through life. Like, it is not normal to put your like deepest feelings into the everyday that you live. And I think that what I'm always, I don't know, I really like to celebrate like vulnerability and find it to be a strength. Like, any time that I've responded to anything in my life with like vulnerability, even though you feel like it's a weakness at first, it always kind of disarms people, I find, in the end, because like, unless that person's an asshole, in which case it doesn't matter. But most, you know, anybody that's worth it, like, usually, like, everybody has that side of themselves, you know? And I think that for me also, like, as women and just like feminine, by feminine energy, I don't mean like female energy. I just mean like these softer sides of everybody that like it wasn't cool to access, like being sensitive or being emotional or feeling deeply. Like, my whole thing is, you know, how can that be something that's like strong and sexy and like, you know, essentially like pushes you to live a really authentic life, because you're actually connecting with those like feelings, right? You know, yeah, I think that's like what I try, at least attempt to do.
I love that. I love that so much. I love how just, you know, how down to earth you are, how like, I just love connecting with creators, and I love learning how they do their things and how they progress through life. And like, I learned so many new things. Like, I learned today your mom's from Madrid, right? Never knew that. You know what I mean? I learned a lot of things about you today, and I, you know, hopefully the same here. Yeah. You know, hopefully, you know, we also work together more. I would love to work with you more. Yeah, I'm always trying to be like people's go-to. I don't know how busy I'll be right now.
I know. You got a packed schedule from now.
I know. Until June at least. Until June at least, I have a packed schedule. But I'm still free the weekends. Yeah. I think. You think so far? I don't really know. I think. Yeah. But I guess I'll find out. But yeah, like, overall, like, you know, this has been a great episode, and, you know,
thank you for having me.
Yes, I love
podcasts. Like, I love listening to podcasts as well. So for me, like, being on a podcast is
I'm so happy
a joy.
I'm so happy.
I just love to talk. I'm a talker.
I feel you. I always tell my friends that are creators that they should start their own podcast.
No, one day.
Because like it's so much work, but it's so rewarding, because the job I just got, they literally told me on my interview that like what sold us was your ability to do what you did with your podcast.
That's so cool.
Because they asked me in my first interview, I went through 4 interviews for this. So they're like, my first interview, they're like, who does all like your editing and this and this and this?
You're
I
like,
was like, me. And then like, okay, well, who does this and this? I was like, me. And they're like, okay, well, who does this? I was like, me. And
they're marketing,
like,
me.
They're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
They're like, and you know how like when you're like going for a job and sometimes they're like, yeah, well, you know, if we want you, we'll call you back. They're like, we'll hear from you. You'll hear from us. I was like, oh, okay. I was like, okay.
Sorry.
So I've just been on this high of like, and it's the same thing with a lot of jobs since I've left college. Have literally only come from doing my podcast. Not even my degree. Cool. Not even my degree.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, you can do this. Like, that's awesome.
I think people really underestimate the amount of hard work that it also takes to be like a successful creative. Because it's not just like, it's like you're filming, you're shooting, you're editing, you're doing promo, you have like you're marketing, like you have to know a bit of everything.
Yeah, so. Like I was like Salvador last night. He's like, bro, what are you doing on your not like what are you doing on your phone? He was like, dude, like what's taking so long on your phone? Like not on some rude stuff, just like curious. And I was like, dude, this is how long it takes to post one reel.
Dude,
you have to type it out. You have to do the hashtag. Then you gotta edit it. Like, I mean, I do
is it the right time to post it?
I do the captions in Premiere now because I just couldn't handle having to edit the captions in the Instagram and stuff like that. So I was just like, I gotta do that. Honestly, I think people connect better with that when you're doing custom, anyways.
No, I agree.
And then
I think
custom, like, because you can customize them to your own. Like, I think like my layout's like the blue and white now. So, you know what I mean? So you can customize your own thing. But anyways. I definitely think you should start one. It would be fun.
I definitely could see myself doing it. I always plan. I'm like, one day I'll have a baby and I'll just want to chill and not do concerts all the time.
Yeah.
And I will be like, I'm gonna just sit and interview and talk about.
That's what I'm saying.
Like,
well, by then too, you could just have some company pay you to do it.
Exactly. And then I'm like, hello, Fresh.
See what I'm trying? That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get sponsored and just have like a company pay me to do this.
God,
that'd be so fun. But. Anyways,
you will.
I appreciate it. You will too. I can't wait to go to your concerts and just get shit for you. Just be like, I did one for videos.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
But again, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank
you. Again, everyone, her links will be in all the bios and everything. You can catch her on Spotify, Apple, Amazon. Pretty much all the places you can get music. Again, everyone, Sofia
Lafuente, yeah.
Lafuente. I knew I was gonna butcher it. I got the first time.
First half
I think
was strong.
Yeah, the first half was strong. At least I got it in the beginning of the episode. At least I got it in the beginning. That's where it counts the most.
That's what if you're listening now, thank you.
Yes. Thank you guys so much, and see you next time.